Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for tuning into our ESS Wellness Wednesday webinar. I am Katrina Francis. I work for ESS as one of their Nutrition and Wellbeing Engagement Officers. Today's topic title is Take Control of Your Appetite. Overeating is a very common problem and it is experienced by many at some point in time. And today we're going to address that and look at some of the problems it may bring and also share our top tips to help combat that as well. If you do have any questions throughout today's presentation, if you just pop them into the Q&A box, I'll be happy to answer them at the end or follow up with an email. So to start with, what are some of the problems with overeating? So the first one, very simple, it can lead to the consumption of too many calories. And over time, if we continuously consume too many calories on consecutive days, it can also lead to weight gain. And what we mean by too many calories is that we're eating too much compared to the amount of activity which we are doing, which leads to that weight gain. Being overweight or obese can also increase our risk of multiple different diseases and illnesses, for example, heart disease, diabetes, and certain cancers. And it can also just make completing daily tasks a lot more challenging for us. It can also disrupt our hormone regulation. So there are two major hormones which affect our hunger regulations. We have ghrelin, which stimulates appetite, and then leptin, which suppresses appetite. And if we are regularly consuming foods, particularly those which are high in fat, saturated fat, salts and sugars, the ones that we tend to perhaps overconsume on, it makes us feel good and it releases an alternative hormone known as dopamine. And actually over time, the release of this hormone can override those hunger hormones, so we don't actually understand when we're hungry and when we're not. These are some of the long-term implications of being in a positive energy balance or overeating, but there are some short-term impacts as well. So if it's a Friday evening, you decide to overindulge on a takeaway, for example, there are some short-term problems which may occur. The first one, it can put strain on our digestive system. So actually consuming a large amount of food, particularly spicy, fatty or fizzy drinks, can cause bloating, gas, nausea, and also indigestion. And also shortly after consuming a large meal or overeating, it can make us feel sleepy. So our blood sugar levels will drop after eating that big meal, and it can make us feel sleepy, sluggish, give us headaches, and so on. So obviously we want to try and combat this. We recognise that overeating on a regular basis is not beneficial for us and it can lead to complications to our health, which is why I'll be providing you with our top tips to help control your appetite when you do feel the urge to overeat. So first of all is to begin with your shopping. So this is where it all starts. Just be mindful of what you're placing into your shopping basket or trolley. Are you chucking too many packets of crisps or biscuits or chocolate bars into your trolley? Because actually once we've then taken that home and it's in the fridge or in the cupboards, we are more likely to go and grab that and overeat on that specific food. If it's not there to begin with, then obviously we can't. So just be mindful and consider what nutritional value is it that you're doing while adding those items into your basket. Number two is to eat regularly. So this is something which I actually notice, not too often, but if I do wait a long time between meals or I end up skipping a meal for other reasons, I get caught up, I do tend to overcompensate and eat more within the evening, larger meals, and also snacking a lot more. And obviously that all adds up. So do try and spread your meals out evenly to give your body the energy that it really needs. Allow it to feel satisfied at each mealtime and obviously keep yourself going until the next time you eat. It can really help. Number three is to opt for smaller portions. So we do tend to have a very misunderstood or perception of what is considered a correct portion size to what actually is. And we do tend to portion up a lot more than we do need. So just trying to slowly reduce your portion sizes, be considerate, be mindful of how much you're putting on your plate. Using a smaller plate can be a really good option for this. Can also trick your mind thinking that you've still got a full plate and so on, just to try and reduce the amount that you are eating. Tip number 4 is to appreciate your food. So just pause for a minute before eating and just realise how lucky you are to obviously be consuming and enjoying that delicious food. It doesn't have to be in a formal way, like some people may do prayers beforehand, but just looking at your food, appreciating everything which is on your plate and thinking about how it benefits you, what it's going to do for you. And obviously you can just do that within silence without anyone realising. Next up is to try and reduce stress. So we do find that people tend to eat for reasons other than hunger. A common one is stress alongside perhaps when we are feeling sad. But when we are stressed, our stress hormones can actually interfere with those with those hunger hormones as well. So again, our body doesn't tend to realise when we are hungry and when we are full, when we're stressed. So do try activities or techniques to try and reduce stress, and that's important for our overall health and well-being too, not just related to how much we are eating. So it might be exercising regularly, relaxation techniques of breathing, and getting support from friends and family too. Number 6 is to limit alcohol intake. So alcohol does actually provoke hunger, and whether that be if you're in a bar and you order some bar snacks or that late night stop at the nearest takeaway. Alcohol does tend to lead to us eating more, whether it be that evening or in the morning as well. Perhaps you go for a fry up and whatnot. Also, alcohol is high in calories. People tend to forget about calories in liquids. So actually be mindful that those are adding to your calorie intake as well. Number 7 is to stay hydrated. So your brain also cannot sometimes tell when we're thirsty or when we're hungry. So it is important to drink little and often throughout the day to make sure that actually we're not thirsty. And that's why we're feeling those hunger sensations. Where you can, try and opt for those lower calorie drinks, so water, no added sugar squashes, to also minimise the calories that you're consuming there. And then number 8, to try and eat mindfully. So practicing mindful eating can also help prevent overeating as well. And mindful eating is a technique that helps you gain control over your eating habits. And this is how, or these are some of the ways that you can try and incorporate mindful eating into practice. So bring all your senses to the meal. Think about the taste, the textures, the smells. Think about the whole picture rather than just eating to satisfy yourself. Take small bites and chew thoroughly. So really slow down and don't rush your meals. It might be that you place your cutlery down every few bites and really let that digest. It also takes a little while for your brain and for your stomach to let your brain know that you are full. So actually allowing those regular breaks can allow those messages to be sent to your brain, think, actually, you know what, I am full now and I can stop. Eliminate distractions. So get away from the TV, put your phone down. Often if we're distracted by other things, our body can't fully be immersed in the experience of eating and it may not recognise that we have eaten and had that sit down meal. Focus on how the food makes you feel. So does it make you feel good? Obviously, that's the whole point of eating. Eating is really important to fuel ourselves, to give us that energy, and also obviously mental health boost as well. So thinking about, does it make me feel good, or actually does it make me feel a bit rubbish after consuming it? Stop eating when you are full. Really easy one to do to stop us overeating. I know there's lots of people tend to think, oh, I don't want to waste it. You've got to finish everything on your plate. But let's try and change that mentality a little bit now. It's fine if you leave some, can be used for a meal another day, packed up for lunch. There's always ways to repurpose food which you've not eaten as well. And that's the focus of that has come much more in the forefront of people's minds as well. So just think about, stop eating when you're full. You don't need to finish it all. And finally, ask yourself why you are eating. So actually, are you eating, or just before you're eating, is it because you're hungry, or is it because you're bored? If you're bored, can you try and do something different? Occupy yourself doing something else. So, to begin with, it is a good idea to try and incorporate mindful eating into our eating habits and routines. You may find it better to try and just pick one meal per day and focus on these points. And then once you get the hang of it, it does become a little bit more natural and you start implementing these habits into more meals as it comes. But focusing on one meal a day to start with is a really good starting point. There are many benefits to mindful eating as well. So, first of all, it can help prevent binge eating. So, it can reduce the frequency and severity of binges. Binge eating is the consumption of large quantities of food in a short period of time, and it is typically form part of an eating disorder as well. It can reduce emotional and external eating. So emotional or external eating is basically when we eat due to a response in the environment. So whether it be a food related cue, the sight or smell of food, whether you're walking down the street and you smell something really nice and you're enticed to it, or the sight of biscuits in the office. It's those sort of cues which make us eat when we're not actually hungry. Increase awareness of your hunger cues, so actually knowing when is it that you feel hungry? Do you feel irritable? Do you feel fatigued? Do you have that grumbling stomach? And also knowing when you're full. So do you just start not enjoying the food as much which is on your plate? Do you get an uncomfortably full stomach and there's pressure and you get that loss of hunger? Recognizing what it is for you, because it actually will be different for everybody. Some people won't get a grumbling stomach while some people will. It can also be better for digestion. So mindful eating can also lower stress levels, reduces overeating, and just slowing those meals down can give you better digestion. And also it will help you hopefully make you more aware of some healthier food choices. So if you're more aware of how the food makes you feel afterwards, um, if it makes you feel more energized, and obviously you may opt for those choices again compared to something which actually just makes you feel a bit sluggish afterwards. So it can help you to make those healthier choices. Another way to try and reduce the amount of food that we're consuming or trying to take control of our appetite is to make sure we're having balanced meals. So thinking about what your plate looks like and that you have all of the important food groups plated up. And this is just to ensure that your body gets everything that it needs. We may actually see that we crave certain foods when your body is missing something vital. We often crave those which are high in fats, saturated fats, salts, and sugars, but actually it may just be because you're missing some nutrients from your fruits and vegetables and so on. So to achieve a healthy meal, you want to ensure that a quarter of your plate is made up of starchy carbohydrates. So where we can be choosing those whole grain, higher fibre options as they also keep us fuller for longer. Ensure we've got a quarter of our plate made up of a good quality protein source. This can also help us to feel fuller. And also making sure that half our plate is filled up with fruits and vegetables. These are lower in calories, so we really can consume a large portion of these compared to some of the other food groups. So bulking your plate up with that, you can still visibly see you've got a full plate, but actually majority of it made up from fruits and vegetables can help us not eat too many calories within our day. And a final way to help prevent overeating could be by tracking your food or creating a food diary. And the best way to do this is by writing what you eat, so exactly what you're eating, along with why you are eating it. As many of us do eat for reasons other than hunger. And it just allows us to actually recognize that and when we are perhaps consuming those additional calories which we don't need, and how we can try and control that in the future. You may also identify certain habits within your eating routines as well. So it might be that on a Tuesday afternoon, you tend to eat a lot and you recognise that every Tuesday afternoon you've got a meeting with somebody and it makes you a bit anxious. And it's actually the feeling of anxiousness that makes us eat more. Or on a weekend, you're taking your kids to X, Y, Z places and you just think it's easy to just get something quick and easy, fast. Perhaps that is a takeaway or ready meals and so on. And that's what it is that leads you to over consuming on the amount of food that you are having. So Tracking your food can be a really good idea. This is not something that I'd recommend to do over a long period of time. It can just be for a week, just to increase your awareness of what you're consuming and perhaps where you're getting those additional calories from, and where we can try and capture where we are, where our appetite is at its highest. So, in summary, overeating is a common problem that can cause health risks in the long term. And this is often because we can't control our appetite, we tend to overeat. There are many tips and tricks to help limit overeating and curb your appetite, as I ran through today. And if you do have any other concerns over your diet, it is always best to speak to your doctor. So if you do think things are getting out of control, with binges and so on, it is obviously an eating disorder, so I'd recommend to go and speak to somebody professional. So thank you very much for listening. If you do have any questions, please do pop them over to us. We've got an email address which is always open to any questions. So please do let us know. It's ess.wellness@compass-group.co.uk. Aside from that, you can also email us for personal wellbeing queries, book educational talks at your units and sites, book one-to-one sessions, including our health MOTs, and lots more as well. So please don't hesitate to get in touch. But thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the webinar today, and speak soon. Bye.